Hello, and welcome. My name is Davinia. I am the founder of Damn Good Business. I am a chartered accountant and financially grounded business coach, and I'm here to help you build a damn good business. If you are feeling busy or growing, but not as profitable as you would like, or if you're starting out on your journey and you're really struggling to balance your financials and your energy, then I'm here to help. My goal is to help you to build a financially and energetically sustainable business so that you've got your own damn good business. Now, today I want to talk about something that is really important, particularly for new businesses. And it's this idea of survival versus strategy mode. So there are a few things that a lot of traditional business advice tend to ignore. They may tell you about red flag clients and how to spot them, but then they also assume that you have the luxury of saying no. But what if you have bills that are due next week, or you've had a quiet couple of weeks, a quiet couple of months? The very idea of turning work away can make you feel a little bit sick. Now, I genuinely understand this. I have been there when I started my accounting practice, trying to work out how to pay the bills. I started the accounting practice on my own whilst I was trying to help another business to succeed of my own. It didn't work out, but there was a lot of pressure. So I didn't feel personally that I was able to say no to clients if they came interested in me and my services. But what I learned is that it's not about whether or not you should take the client. Actually, what's more important is knowing whether you're making a decision or reacting. And when you're making that decision, actually, what can you do to safeguard yourself, your business, and your energy? Now, with a red flag, with a red flag client, it's not a kind of, I'm not talking like career criminals and that kind of stuff. A red flag is someone that just isn't a good fit for your business and actually could be a bad fit. So they might detract from your ability to do work and interact with other clients, or impact on your ability to actually not be working and spending time doing the things that you do like, because, work isn't everything. Now, when we are faced with that red flag, the big problem is that financial pressure tends to remove our ability to think strategically. When you are under pressure, when you're feeling stressed, different parts of the brain work differently. That kind of older part of your brain can override the logic. And so when you're in survival mode, your brain will narrow in terms of what it considers is happening. And it can be difficult to see options, and all you see is this problem. So what I want you to know as a starting point is that there's a difference between what I would call a constrained choice and blind choice. You can make a constrained choice widely if you are aware of potential challenges and you look at putting boundaries or guardrails in place. A blind choice where you just go in without really thinking about it and just reacting almost always costs you much more than the money or the client was worth. Even just in the initial discovery calls, there was something that just didn't feel right. I knew it wasn't going to work. And ultimately, they were a really bad fit. The challenge was I was new. I needed the money. So I said yes. And at that time, I didn't have the experience to put in place the guardrails and the things that would protect me longer term. But I want to help you to do that so you don't make the same mistakes that I did. What I want to help you to do is not to say an automatic yes from that kind of survival mode place, but to move to a conscious yes. Now, there are three types of yes when it comes to a red flag client, and that's what I want to talk you through. So the first is what I'm going to call the resentful yes. So the resentful yes, you took them, you knew it was wrong, you said nothing, and now you've got a really difficult relationship without protection, without guardrails in place, and you're actually a little bit annoyed with yourself. And it's okay, it happens, but we want to learn from that. That type of resentful yes is the most expensive type of yes in terms of your energy and the impact it has both on you and your business. Then you have the second type is the oblivious yes. So with the oblivious yes, you saw these red flags, but you're like, no, it's not that bad. You talked yourself out of it. Now, this is not completely your fault, but it's going to be really interesting for us to talk about how that can happen and the challenges of responding to these situations quickly and emotionally. Now, the third type of yes is the conscious yes. I said, this is my goal for you. So you saw the flags, you assessed the actual risk, you saw what could be problems, and you were honest with yourself about them. And you said, okay, this is what could go wrong. The money is worth it if these very particular conditions or are there. So under specific conditions, with particular guardrails, with specific boundaries, and you went into this professional relationship with your eyes open. And this is what keeps you in control, helps remove that resentment, and can help to stop it from impacting on everything else. So my goal is to help you move from the first two types of yes. So to move from a resentful or oblivious yes to a conscious yes. So what does a yes with conditions, that conscious yes, actually look like? What does it need? Now, it's not a mindset. It's not about, oh, this is how I'm going to approach things. I'm going to be very aware that I'm saying yes. It actually has a structure. As with many things, you want to be able to tune in with your intuition, or you want to be able to tune into your own feelings, your knowing, but you need a structure to make something concrete. So if you think someone is going to be difficult, or you have nerves around working with someone, the things that you can do, the practical things that you can do are to be very clear in your terms and conditions, your contract, about the exact scope of work. Don't go with that whole kind of, well, we'll just kind of work it out as we go. Be very clear about what you are going to do and what you are not going to do, and that anything extra you'll be charging for. You can look at making sure that people are paying more upfront. So either asking for a kind of deposit, a retainer, something like that. Moving to a regular payment schedule rather than it all being at the end, so that you've got a bit more control of cash flow. Things aren't getting too behind. You're aligning the work that you're doing with the money that they're giving you for that work. You could look to build in particular review points where you check in and determine whether or not things will continue or the next phase of work. So you might actually have some natural exit points where you can say, yeah, great, I've done, what we first talked about. And then unless you pay me an obscene amount of money, I'm not going to continue. But no, so you've got, a preset that we will have a conversation in future and we will look at it. The key idea is that if there is something that makes you feel uncomfortable, that you're not sure about, you are ultimately taking on risk. And from a practical, this is my, teaching accounting head on, when you take on risk, there needs to be an associated reward. It is the risk reward trade-off. It's a whole theory. It's it's the nature of investment generally. But you need to adjust the terms of what you're doing to compensate for that additional risk. However you structure it, it's not being difficult. It's about being professional. To be able to look at that, you need to be able to name what the problem is. You want to be able to get down and turn that feeling, that uncomfortableness, into something specific. So it's not going to be, oh, they seemed difficult, but it's going to be about what they said. or the phrasing that they use, any examples that they've given you when they've talked about how they've worked or the way that they talk about people that they've worked with before. This is not about you talking to them about it. This is purely private. But the three questions you want to ask yourself are, what specifically am I worried about? Try and be precise. Then ask yourself, okay, if this is the potential problem, what is going to be the early warning sign that this is going sideways, that we're going off course and what I thought was going to happen could happen? What is the earliest point, the thing I need to look out for to spot that? And then when that happens, what am I going to do? What is my exit strategy if it goes wrong? Now, this is not assuming it will. Sometimes things, work out. They're not used to working with people in a particular way, but, they're kind of trained or, they take on board the feedback and they will do what you need them to do, or it will be a kind of a neutral working relationship. Those are also absolutely okay. You don't have to love every client. You can have a neutral professional working relationship. But if you have a plan, even if it is a 5-minute plan, that is better than nothing, because you are then entering into that arrangement, that agreement, knowingly. It's no more about, I'm going to ignore it, hope for the best. Hope isn't a plan. A plan lets you take the risk, knowing what you can do if something happens, if it goes wrong. Now, I think it's really important to say that sometimes you are in survival mode and that is it. There is literally no other choice. And in those times, any client is better than no client is genuinely true. That is absolutely okay. The goal isn't to pretend you always have options. The goal is to make that survival mode, when you're in that place, less costly for you financially and energetically, because you need to have that awareness so that you can adjust the way that you work, what you're doing, but also hopefully notice when you've been in it longer than you've realized, because then actually that kind of, I need the money, I'm going to say yes to every client, stops being temporary and starts becoming your business model. So having a check-in with your business, your feeling, how things are going is really important to help you to move forward. So I want to leave you with this. We are aiming, if we've got a red flag client for whatever reason, we are aiming to get to a conscious yes. So the question isn't, should I take this client? The question is going to be, am I deciding to take this client? Or am I just saying yes because I don't feel like I can say anything else? And the minute you can answer that honestly, you're already in a better position than most people who'll ever face this situation. If you really struggle with deciding whether or not to take on a client, if you feel that you're going backwards and forwards, things are going round and round in your head, you're kind of not sure what to do, I can help. I created something called the Client Acceptance Framework. It is a GPT that takes you through, question by question, a very specific, mathematically weighted, calculated framework, and helps you to score your client, puts them into a banding. It helps you to flag those red flags, to find them, to think about things that may be a challenge, or if things appear to be kind of contradictory, to help you to understand and explain that kind of, oh, I don't know feeling that you're getting, and turn it into something concrete that can help you to make a real decision in less than 10 minutes. If you decide to follow the plan, if it's always your decision, by the way, but if you decide you want to say yes or no and you want to put some boundaries in place, it can help you with that initial communication as well. So if you know that is something that you have struggled with, or you are new to this idea of managing expectations and boundaries with your client, then again, this can help. You can find out more down below in the description. There's a full link to the information. And please do get in touch. And if you want, let me know, what is the biggest challenge you have when you are looking at your business and winning clients, taking on clients, pricing? Is it profitability? Is it something else? I would love to hear what's making things difficult for you, what's standing in the way of you creating your own damn good business. And maybe I'll do a video on it. See you soon.